This season on the Market Lens, we're doing something new, we're doing something fresh. And to do something fresh for me today is my co-host, Isope.
Hi.
All right. Now, the Market Lens is more than just financial success. It's about drive, it's about vision, it's about strategies to move to the mission. And also the blueprint is all about. We sit down with successful entrepreneurs who have built themselves from the ground up. They tell us about their work, their mindsets, and give us insights into their lives. Today, we're talking with Mr. Suraj Oyewale. He's a Nigerian business executive, policy thought leader, and real estate entrepreneur with over 2 decades of experience in the energy sector, consulting, and real estate. After holding leadership roles in prestigious companies like Owando, PwC, and Savannah Energy, he ventured into entrepreneurship to start Jarus Funds and Investments and Africa Property Hub that are changing the game in the property investments. He has influenced energy policy, he has published papers, and he loves football as much as life itself. Mr. Suraj, welcome to the Blueprints.
Please, I'm out to the issue.
Okay, so Mr. Suraj, first or if we're to call your parents right now, what type of child would they say you were growing up?
I was in age. I mean, growing up, I was that kind of guy that was the boy that was all mostly indoors, reading books, reading newspapers. Even way before I grew into adulthood. So they will tell me, he will say, "Do Suraj, that boy, was always, reading newspapers and all of that." So they will likely describe him as the young guy that they knew I had a prospect, to be honest with you. They knew that this guy, needed to be protected and all of those things. And I would say that, yes, that young boy that needed to be protected because we saw that it was just a bookworm, sort of.
So you're not like the stubborn kid, or you were not disrespectful, or you were just like a very good.
I mean, I won't say I was I was pampered, to be honest with you. Pampered and said that, sometimes I have to acknowledge this, because I was, among my siblings, I was, one of the best academically in terms of school and all of those things. So they were always sort of protecting me that, okay, he's reading, don't send him, let him read so that I can pass on all those things. So I was maybe a little bit more protected than, some of my siblings because of that's what they saw in me. And but in terms of, all of us had our stubborn side, right? And, sometimes, stubborn, not so stubborn, but, in the neighborhood, sometimes I would go out and play football. And even I wasn't the best of our life. That's why I'm playing the old people. But, so you use stubbornness to describe in short.
Okay. Because I know that our parents, they like education a lot, and I think that's the thing for Nigerian parents. So once they see that post, they want to protect you and give you everything you need to be that person you want to be. So I also like to add that growing up, what does success look like in your home, like in your environment? What does success look like?
Yeah, my earliest exposure to anybody that was doing fine in my, I will give 2 examples. In my immediate family was our dad. Our dad, who was the, I grew up sort of in the family house, but our dad who was, who had been a graduate, who was doing well, driving in Mercedes Benz in the 1990s and all of those things. Of course, we wanted to be like him. We saw him, he had a filling station in Kwara State. I grew up in Kwara State. And, so, it was like the standard of success for everybody. Then in my neighborhood, I had another influence. There was a man called Dr. Femi Adekai, who was at that time the president of CIBN, Chartered Stock Bankers of Nigeria, the bankers body, right? And also the CEO of the Bank of Commerce Bank. The bank no longer exists, but at that time, the bank was existing. He was living in Lagos, but his family house was in, close to our own family house, and I was living in our own family house. Anytime he came home from Lagos, the whole neighborhood stood still, like his car, the whole Razor, the whole Espero, you guys who don't know it, you guys are Gen Z, you know the car.
Whoa, another.
With the cut of those era, the guy, everybody will just, everybody will stand up in the neighbors, the whole neighborhood, picking at the car. Oh, this man was there. So it was, the whole environment will stand standing and I was visiting. And he young me, a 10-year-old me, he a 7-year-old me, I wanted, this man, what did he do to achieve this? So I wanted to become like this man one day. I wanted to be this kind of person, that had this kind of influence, that had this kind of, and he was also taking care of his, of his family to the best of his ability. He started from the best of his ability. So I was seeing all of those things, and I wanted to become this man. So these were the earliest influences, my earliest understanding of success, right?
Okay.
And fun facts. When I started, doing well myself, I bought a Range Rover, and I went to Family Life, and I parked it in that place he used to park that car. That is car that we used to admire in the 1990s, about a few years ago. I felt so fulfilled in my life that as a 10-year-old, I had to see this man park in this place to come and see his family, his extended family, his mom, and all of those people, that really need to achieve it myself. I'm parking in that same spot, the car, a decent car for my own generation, for my own, time. I
Yeah.
think it was some sort of fulfillment for me. So I would say that was my earliest definition of success and influence on success.
It sounds like from a very young age you were shown what is possible.
Yeah.
Right, in the right way.
Yeah.
Right? And do you think that played maybe like an important role?
It did. To be honest with you, it did. I mean, and big credit to my family because they knew that they gave me all the support they could give me. They gave me all the support they could give me. My brother Akim, my family, our dad, my mom, everybody. They give me that kind of support. In fact, I would say I was even pampered, sort of. Sometimes they would, other kids, other siblings, they would like they will give you some sort of small preference simply because they did that royal prospect. Who is reading? Don't go and stop the let it go, and instead of him washing plates, it's reading. So they gave me some sort of preference. So yes, they saw that perspective in me that this guy appears to be a boy that is was good in school, doing well in primary school, secondary school. So we needed to protect, man. I mean, so yes, I would say that was the case.
All right. Okay, so seeing that growing up, was there a pressure to follow like a certain path? Because thinking of it over my head, as in Nigeria, and you're very smart, you're a child that knew what you wanted. It's either you're studying law, you're studying medicine. It's
Yeah.
like that was the standard.
Yeah.
So now you studied economics. So was there a pressure to follow a certain path that you did not want, and why did you choose economics at the end of the day?
Great question. So I mean, two things influenced me, right? So the first one was that man. So as I grew to my teenage, I started reading paper. I mean, much earlier. So I now knew more about that man I was talking about. I knew he was a banker. He was the banker, MD of a bank. I knew he was, president of Nigerian Bankers Group, which was, CIBN. So I started reading much about him, right? So I knew that to become in that kind of person, I needed to go into a career that happened back, right? Then our whole dad, who was also, doing well enough for Akwa State too. Himself, he was a businessman. He was in business. So I narrowed my options to that, either going to business or going into banking, right? So when I wanted to do my UME in 2000, something 6 years ago, I picked my jam from UME form, and I feed first. I mean, before then, a year before 2019, I went to Ife OAU campus to see my sister who had gotten admission before then. And in that, I love the OAU campus. Like,
The most beautiful campus. Nobody can relate.
So I went to the campus in 1999, and as an SS2 student, and I loved what I saw. Oh God, I wanted to become a student in this school.
Wanted to be there.
I wanted to be there. So when I went back, when I did my JAM in 2000, when I wanted to pre-JAM my JAM in 2000, but unfortunately, the course I wanted to read bizarred me to become a businessman like our dad, or finance, background finance, to become a banker like that, like the man I was looking to become. Unfortunately, I went to JAM handbook. If OAU did not offer this admin or banking and finance, that was the big, so I now chose Unilag finance first choice, business admin second choice. Now, after I'd chosen those two, after I'd filled those things in my JAMB form, and I called my brother who was, who finished university and, started working in investment banking at trust company, now known as IBTC. I was working there. He was, a young man that just started working there. And we called him. We had the phone in our house. So I called him that, brother Akim, I had filled my JAMB form and I chose like first choice, finance, second choice, because, was good at business admin. It now said something to me that if it is something you like, and you know that you like, I'm very extremely competitive, right, Isaac? I would advise you not to choose like, admission is extremely competitive. Him said he scored maybe 260 something in the 1990s when he wrote his JAMB, and to even, I think his name probably came out in second list or something before. He knew he was more brilliant than I was. He knew that, for me to get admission into like, it might be a little bit of ordinary. When I invited me to consider another school, I mentioned OAU. I said, OAU I want you before. Thank God, you mentioned OAU. Secondly, I'm not telling you that finance don't you. That's a choose economics, because economics the border. All of this they're talking about. Economics cover finance, all of those, like economics the border course. So that discussion we had on phone in early 2000, yearly year 2000. After that call, I went to my, to my JAMB form. I cleaned, the course I chose the financial for economic first choice, OAU. Business admin second choice. And thankfully, I scored 243 that JAMB, and I got admission to AU, and that was how I found myself doing it.
Great, fair. So would you say that that encounter with your brother, it shaped your view on the world, like, or do you think you have like another view that has actually shaped how you see the world or how you see things in general? Because I would say that point was a very big stepping stone to you, because that is why you are here today, because of that decision. Or do you think there's another decision that you've made that has shaped your worldview, or another memory you have?
So choosing OAU and studying economics, one of the top 5 decisions I took in my life, because thankfully economics was even my best subject in secondary school. So everything now aligned, right? And it made it easy for me. Actually, went up to have I had the first class at the end of the day, because, it was something that came a little bit natural to me. A subject I understood quite well, even from secondary school. Now being what I was studying in university. So I would say I was one of the top, I've played the top 3 decisions I've taken in my life. Going to AU itself was a big decision for me, because it's helped my spirituality a little bit, as a young man coming out of teenage, and I was, it was that kind of environment shaped me in sort of, also, I became a little bit better Muslim, to the best of my knowledge at that time. To be, you people, he said that you become a Muslim or a Christian. He said that you become a very literate, everybody become, which I think, I don't have any regret for. So, so those kind of things, everything was moving. Find myself, suddenly the course I was good at, all of those things, shaped my life, which I'm happy for at the end of the day.
So that moment shaped your childhood and your career. Like,
Exactly.
it was a stepping stone for you to really decide what you wanted to do and how you wanted to get. Okay, that's good.
Now let's talk about your corporate life, right? So you've graduated from OAU. So give us like the timeline between graduation and getting your first job.
Yeah, I was very determined though. Like, I was extremely determined. Imagine me right from somebody that was 10 years old in 1992, already thinking of becoming a banker, already thinking of, all of those things. So imagine, I got to Fair in 2001, September 5, Wednesday, that was the day I resumed. The school was on December 3rd, Monday, but I got in on September 5, 2001. So, so when I got, I knew that to stand a good chance, I needed to make a good grade. So with the help of people around me I was able to make a first class. And it was intentional, because I knew that might help me in the labor market, right? So that was one of the ways I prepared for the labor market, by making sure that, I had a good grade, so that at least if they were shortlisting people, most companies will first want to stick with rosters, right? I knew that at least I had that order, taken care of. Then in my final year in university, I was attending job seminars. Now we didn't have webinars that you can do virtually. I was trying from Ife to Lagos in VI here to come and attend one seminar, one job. But said, now this is what to say in interviews. is what to say in job test, how to use job test, and I was fully prepared for all of those things, even right from when I was in school, when I was in final year.
You were intentional.
I was very intentional. So after my NYC, before my NYC, I actually got a job in, just two streets away from here, in the job. I saw Kufa Bayomi in Vetiba. I come to Vetiba. I got just pre-NYC. I got the job there. My CV was submitted. My CV, the written for test. I passed. I scored 71%. I passed, and I had some pre-NYC day. I went for NYC in Sokoto. When I came back, during my NYC, I was applying for jobs, right? By the time I came back, I submitted my CV in Wando, and I submitted it in Share. So Share was doing a general recruitment in 2008 when I came back. I finished 2006. I went for service 2007 to 2008. 2008, I was already doing, so I was applying to all of, I applied to more than 100 companies, like Eden Company, Glow, Settle, Globalcom. Even banks that I didn't have intention to do. I was to work. I was, applying for it to everywhere. Most of them were inviting me for KPMG, PwC, all of them were inviting me for tests and all of those things. So eventually, I narrowed them into two, Wando and Shell. So, Shell, I was going through this stage by stage, right? So eventually, I got a job in Shell, and so in Wando, and I was on May 16, 2008. Okay, and that was my first job. So the time I finished my NYC, I had an extension in NYC. My mates had their POP on 14th of February 2008, but I had mine on MAD. They didn't give me my certificate because I wrote an article against the state government when I was a copper. So they punished me. I became a little bit radical in university, a little bit radical. I'm not in university like I was. So if someone turns you into when you see what you call you want to be right, I feel like I go like for Sokoto, then say, okay, now you speak English, Abi. No, wala. So I found myself. This my got that point. So I was in Sokoto, and I still taking my extension in NYC, and I came back in May. That same May, early May, I think I was writing. One invited me for test. I passed the test in Krabi. I passed the interview, and we deleted Fidaro, and within a short period of time, I got the job. So that was my first job. So it didn't take much at all. Just a few weeks after I finished my NYC, I got the job in Rwanda.
Okay. So it sounds like you said, you were very intentional. First thing you said, you made sure you got a first class so that, that puts you ahead of the game. And then you attended job seminars, and then you just kept applying, Do you think it's the same steps today in the corporate world today? That, first class is as important?
It is. It wasn't the sole criteria then, and it's never going to be sole criteria anytime. It's so that, if Wano invited me for test and I didn't pass the test, my focus would not have helped me. If Wano invited me for interview and I got to an interview, I was saying rubbish, my first class would not have helped me. The best focus we give you is a seat on the table, a leg in the room. That left for you to defend it. So it's not enough. Then and now, if I wasn't able to, do well in interview or write the test, my first class would have been useless. So it is the same thing then and now. Those things give you that kind of a leg in the room, and I pass that exact confidence too, So these are the kind of things that they will be. It's not automatic that because you have the first class, but make your life a little bit easier by, if they say, okay, 1,000 people apply for a job, most likely the family will look at, because fresh graduates, they didn't need your work experience or anything. The only thing they would need is your certificate is the summary of your performance over 4 or 5 years in university, right? So that should be able to approximate your hard work, the ability you will call to ability exactly. So that's what they have to rely on. So if 2,000 people apply for a job, most likely the top 50 that had the first class will be first. Okay, this one first. The next one that had a 2-1, for example, let's call this one for test and interview. At that stage, if a 2-1 guy does better than the first class guy, it doesn't make any difference. The 2-1 guy, will get in, and the first class guy will not get in. But make your life a little bit easy. Make the process a little bit easy by, being on top of the, charts. When this kind of opportunities come, but it's not enough. It's not enough.
So you're at Owando. Did you enter Owando? And I just found that seeing you climbed up the ranks, pretty quickly in Owando. What was it that you did that other people probably weren't doing? Because people stay at companies for years and they don't really get promoted all that much. So
Thing in Owando, I didn't have, Owando was great, but I was still more doing Owando. I joined Owando 2008 as fixed asset accountant. 2009, the role was expanded to cover tax and fixed assets. And but it wasn't. I was still much junior, right? But I built that. That was I cut my teeth in the field of accounting and social method tax. Work in finance department of one road. But in 2012, 2011 October, I think October 25, I saw an advert in a newspaper. Okay, a new, not a name, but a relatively evolving company needed upstream company, upstream one part of the land that needed a tax accountant, and I decided to apply. I applied and I got the job. So I think it was that was the turning point. So the 1 years I was more junior, I was more junior. I got one promotion in 2009, due to the expansion of my role, but I think it was that same energy that I had, a decent rise in career. But Wando was more of, a young man just, yeah, exactly, and all of that, yeah.
From Wando, where did you
I headed to a company called Same Energy. They had upstream business and midstream business in Akwa Ibom State, and they had some other transactions. They had some other partnership with joint venture with Seplat, NPDC rather. NPDC is subsidiary of NPC. They had some OML like OML 38 or 40. They do some things with in Edo State and Delta State. So we had all of these things. So that company was evolving company, and it was a small company, but that people just ahead of them. So I joined and started as a pioneer tax accountant. Okay, like I and my boss. So if they wanted the tax, me as a tax accountant, they tell somebody else, somebody that was more senior to me as tax manager. Both of us now set up the tax department of that that company. So we're doing the tax for them, and that made me to learn more. When I was in big organization, you're probably lost in the crowd of thousands of people that are started. But here you had you are a company that had just, Seven Energy was a company that had just, maybe the entire staff team was probably 100. So the entire tax department was just 4 of us. And that means we got involved in a lot of work. And 2013, I was promoted because of the expansion in my role, in my work. And then, I was getting promotion almost every 2 years. I mean, I'm not ready for it. Commercial companies don't promote. They because of salary, but they don't promote as much. Because they don't promote as much. That was exceptional, sort of getting promotion every 2-3 years. And at the end of the day, I became a manager in 2019. When I became a manager in 2019, I was the first person in that company. I mean, the first or second company that came here as an officer, as a junior person, rose to become a manager. 2019, which was the way. But I learned a lot from my boss. My boss also gave me free hands. I think it was just a fantastic company, great culture, and all of those things helped my career. So I mean, what did I do? Well, at some point, another company came to acquire that company called Savannah Energy. They came to acquire them. So when they acquired some of the assets, we started and moved to that new company. That way we had an Englishman, no, a Scottish, a British man as the MD. That one was, he liked the fact that I was always contributing in meetings. I was always commenting on, issues beyond my work as an accountant. In town hall, I would speak. On LinkedIn, I would talk about state of the economy, state of the industry. All of those things made the guy to be impressed in me. And at some point, just give me another project. When the head of, we had another department called supply chain. When the head of that supply chain, who was much senior, was sent to London office as the executive assistant to the CEO. I was made the head of supply chain for the company because of, the man just, the CEO just felt like, oh, this guy, we think it's sort of an asset to us because of his, his always contributions to in town halls, he appears to be someone that knew beyond accounting. So these are kind of things that seemed affected. So that, speaking out, making contribution, knowing something beyond my field. I'm an accountant, but I mean, I get myself involved in things beyond accounting. So all those things contributed to, I would say, my decent rise in the companies.
So I would ask, in all these years, because you know that, okay, you're in accounting, did you take professional exam or read books that were more inclined to just burden your knowledge on all these things? Because obviously, they don't teach us all these things in school.
Yeah.
You need to be intentional about knowing it or learning them. So would you say you read books that enlightened you, or you took exams that helped you in all those instances?
So I mean, I can exam, which is the account project exams. When I started when I was doing my NYSC, I passed. I mean, I got to the number of prices I won. I became a chartered accountant in 2011.
Okay.
So that was for accounting. When I was put to tax Nwando, I also enrolled for tax professional exam, CIT, and Cultural and Southern of Nigeria. I passed that one too. I became a chartered tax practitioner too. I was writing all of those professional exams. But beyond my career as an accountant, doing tax and accounting, I was always contributing to policy issues. What issues I would write articles in newspapers. I would, comment. One policy, government wants to introduce one policy. I would publish articles on my paper. So many people do not even know I'm an accountant. But all that industry, PIE, industry art, I was very vocal. In that time, I was the same thing with active form art. I was, so now I don't have time to write again. I just treat it. But then I was always, any major issues, public issue, okay, I was always write article, publish it online, publish in newspapers, and all those things were giving me some visibility beyond my role as an accountant, beyond my company. Thankfully, my company did not object to it, although I ranked only a couple of times but they were largely liberal enough to accommodate any staff that wants to express themselves in other areas, as much as they are not detrimental to the business. In fact, when I wanted to apply to PwC, when I wanted to quit the comms about energy in 2022, I wanted to apply to PwC. Taiwo Oyewale is now the presidential committee, the president's Tinubu's tax reforms chairman, right? I sent a letter, an email, say that I wanted to join PwC. I sent it to other big four PwC, KPMG. I sent it to KPMG, I sent it to Deloitte, I sent all of those guys. But Taiwo knew me because he sees my articles online, he sees my articles, he knows me, he knows that this guy is always like, he sees my articles on newspaper, exactly. So that visibility is always helping me. This is Suraj. I think I know this guy. He appears to be, to be a decent guy in terms of knowledge. So I think, my be an asset was in PwC. So it was easy for me to, for him to listen to me when I said I wanted to join. So that visibility, that contribution to issues, that, profession, of course, I was prepared. I was already like a member, CITM member, and all of those things. All those experience, all those things really made the journey a little bit easy. So yes, I wasn't just doing accounting. I was always getting myself involved in various topical issues. And that made it, most times when I knock into a room, they've known me already.
So, visibility, right, guys? So this is not here where they say it's not enough that you do your job.
Exactly. Exactly.
All right. So now you said you went from to PwC, you did tax, you did a lot of energy policy. Online, I know I was going through your Twitter feed, right? And the time you talk about there was this type of cover letter that you had written that someone said it's almost guaranteed today, because when you said you wrote a cover letter at PwC, was that a cover letter that you?
Yeah. So I faced that cover letter in 2022 when I wanted to move from Mandu to that same energy. So I told them about the newspaper. They said send your CV a cover letter, and I realized how can I use to distinguish myself, because I've been writing a lot. I used to write. I used to write a lot. Like I used to write, like it was one of my strengths, right? So I wanted to be different. And I picked my, Word document, I typed 5 reasons why I'm fit for this job. Rather than for conventional people will write, I have applied for this, blah, blah, blah. I wrote 5 reasons why I'm fit for this job. Like I made, with bullet points, 5 points, type on agenda. So I wrote that thing, and so when I submitted this application, I'm somewhere that they are seeing this one is different from the, conventional cover letter they are saying. That must have contributed to them inviting me, right? I want to believe so. Of course, I had all the complication, all the competition, all that thing they needed, okay? But, so that's cover letter, I believe, I published it online later, But this was the same cover letter now using one I wanted to say, that email I said I sent to Taiwo, right? It's like 40 years later. Now, the first one was 2011, right? When I wanted to move to PwC, I sent that thing to Taiwo 2022. I sent to other big 4 companies too. So by that time, I just expanded. But the same format, like same format I used, for that 2021, 2011 when I wanted to move from Mando to so it's not that same format. It's just being not conventional, being able to extract and tabulate and articulate your strengths and being different from other people.
So let's get a bit practical now. So say I wanted to apply for a job at a finance firm, using your job 5, can you walk us through, if I was to write a cover letter now, I want to apply to be, let's say, a research analyst, or it could even be an accountant, right? And I want to differentiate myself. First step.
All these things you are doing, right? They are not accounting job. These things you are doing are not accounting job. So if you want to use that method, things like this, for example, we could put stuff like okay, you've been able to, in a market-based podcast, we're one of the hosts. We have engaged the highest level decision makers in finance. That's what they'll be your guests. In all of those things, you are impressed with them. You wish to be like them one day. You've engaged them. You believe that all those things will make you to set easily the way you get the job. So all those things, you tell all those, all those adjustments, all those package all of those things together. Is because the other person, you are competing with just the say, okay, I apply for the post of a clinical job. And but you all those things that are not so conventional about, okay, you host a podcast, you use a podcast, part of some of the guests have been finance professionals, people have been successful, you've learned from them, you want to, so all those kind of things I think that can differentiate you. So these are the kind of things I normally encourage people to put in their applications.
Yeah. So basically, if anybody wants to now use your type of format of letter, it means they now have to now think about it and say, what are some exceptional things like that?
Very important.
Exactly. And you have also been doing that kind of thing. Because sometimes I do some things simply because I want to have them on my CV. When I contested for the position of General Secretary of NESA, in 2005, part of the reason was I wanted to put on my CV when I graduated. So I went to tell the story that I was the secretary of economic department. I was already thinking ahead, wait to be somewhere I wanted to get a job. Yes, I wanted to serve, but let's face it, I was also thinking forward. So you take some deliberate decisions so you take some decisions, you take some actions simply because you wanted them to be on your CV. Sometimes I write articles to to analyze some political issues. Some of those are in my CV. Imagine talking about the fact that, I analyzed PIA. I was part of the, guys that said comment on PIA and all those things. Anybody going to listen to you? So you do some things intentionally, looking at the bigger picture. Exactly. So these are the kind of steps you'll be taking. So when the opportunity comes for you to, package all of those things, they help you.
Right. Okay. So do you see a difference between your work ethic when you were in the corporate space and the work ethic of most people today?
In the corporate space, right?
Yes.
I was very, I won't say, at the risk of being immodest, I was hardworking. I was the guy that would close at 11 o'clock, 2 o'clock, 2 a.m. sometimes, go on Saturdays, sometimes even on Sundays and all of those things. And because I knew what I wanted. You do respect, there are a lot of technologies now that make people even, do things much, smarter than us. For example, in that time, you can't go home. You can only be in my early years of working, for example, I didn't have a laptop. So I needed to be in the office to sit on my desktop and work. Now, you didn't need to do that again. You can probably work from your smartphone. You can work from your smartphone. So, you guys have that guidance. So you don't need to do jacky work, to do, the kind of work we did. So it's not a matter of, it's just changing technology, changing realities. So I won't call people of these days lazy. It's just, they have a lot of gadgets, a lot of tools to help them to work. Everything exactly. You can play football and go to your side and, just log into Zoom and, have a meeting with your boss or somebody, that kind of thing. That time you are needed to go to the office to have a meeting. Virtual meeting is that common every here and there. So, people take advantage of this and make life easier for themselves. So, it's just adjustment to realities and technological advancement. So it's not a matter of, it was our own case, our ethics were better in today's age. Maybe you have more sense of endurance, right? Maybe you have more sense of endurance. You guys do have more sense of endurance. And then
because that was how you were trained, because you needed to be that person.
Exactly. So maybe that you have that, maybe that kind of thing. You guys have carry your job. I get it's another remote job in Canada, so those saved my life. So all those kind of things that.
So what was the turning point? When did you decide, what, I think I want to start my own thing. I want to start my own businesses and do stuff for myself.
Interestingly, my point was, my life goal was to become CEO of a big organization like that man, right? That's, that MD that was a CEO of a bank or something. So I was hoping to become CEO of a large oil and gas company, right? So that was my corporate, aim, corporate goal. And I was the head of a department in Seminary. I was like number 8 or number 9 in hierarchy, in the whole in Nigeria at that time, because, head of department was just a little, the level just, below the executive director. So I was doing well. But I had some, I had issue with one of the leadership for, that last company I worked. And, I resigned sort of angrily and I got another job. I moved to PwC, for example, and I got some money. I got some good cash. Well, and that not say, we are leaving voluntarily, they pay some good cash. Even that they pay some good cash and I use that money. I use that money to go and start a business, real estate business by the side. I bet this money, so when I was moving to PwC, I was also starting a business by the side. Okay. So the point, so I was doing the business by the side also. I just bought one land behind my personal house. And I was advertising on Twitter, on Instagram, everywhere, talking about people come and back. Before I knew, people started paying deposits. Before I knew it, I finished the house within 8 months. I was still working PwC. But the point in which I made the decision to quit formally, finally, and go and feed the business was when my turnover reached 1 billion naira. I like that this is no longer a side hustle. When the total, company turnover reached 1 billion within a year after I started, I said, we can no longer run this as a side hustle. Number one. Number two, I also consider the fact that PwC was giving me that. PwC, is a professional firm, so it needed to be a little bit circumspect. There's a limit to what you can say, there's a limit to what you can participate in, all of those things. So I was a little bit limited from running that business because of, my obligation is that my company and obligations. So I felt like, I won't be able to continue like this. Number three, I also felt like, it was also taking my time. And taking my time, like, okay, so it's only fair to give, to one has to go for the other. Because I can't be collecting salary from WC. But I was doing the job, but at the same time, I needed to give them, that commitment. So that next level of my business required me to be more present, right, rather than dedicate stuff. So I left, and so at that point, I made the decision to, let me just go and do this business fully. Interestingly, I moved to PwC, I got 50% pay cut. The salary I was collecting in the oil and gas industry, when I got to PwC, it was only that profit that PwC offered me. They said they can't offer more than that. And it's okay because it's not an oil and gas company. They don't make the kind of money oil and gas companies make. So, I recognize it. So, and if I could sustain my life based on half of what I was earning in the oil and gas industry, I felt like, I should be able to quit 9 to 5 and, if I might not get the lifestyle of oil and gas again, but so that time in PwC also made me to realize that, I was earning X millions in my last work. PwC, I was earning like half of it. I didn't die. My lifestyle did not change much. So I think I can survive without this corporate work. So let me go and do business. Business is tough, but let me go and do it. And I know that if I fail, because of the name I've been able to establish across the country, because of the leverage I have, if I want to get another job, I will get.
Yes.
I can go back. That's another leverage I had. So at that point.
But you already had the experience with your dad being a businessman.
Exactly. Exactly. In fact, our dad actually, my dad had his way. He won't do any corporate work. If he had his way, after university, he would be doing, business. He wanted, it's a business, his own, like, he did some small corporate works when he started, but he's a businessman, so he doesn't.
That was what he used to train you guys.
Exactly. So business, he didn't like part of it. I spent 16 years working Continent 5, right? 2008 to 2015 years. Our brother Kim spent, before he started his own company. So he came from a business family too. So, our parents have been disturbing us. No matter the salary they give you, it cannot be, all those babana. So that was also part of it. That was also part of it.
So I would love to hear about how your real estate business got to 1 billion in revenue in just under a year. But before we go into that, you're a tax professional, right? You've been in tax for years, right? We just started a new tax regime in Nigeria here, right? So I'd like to pick your brain about that. I'm sure you have a lot to say about it, and I've seen that.
It's a controversial topic, and unfortunately, a lot of people would know little to nothing about the subject. Have taken over the narratives, and they appear to be in control of it. I think it's a good bill. It's a good law. Can't really who is the champion of this. He's not the only one. He was my boss in PwC. Like I said, I've known him for more than 15 years. I see I worked with him for 1 year, and I respect him a lot. I believe he has the best interest of the country at heart. He's a professional that really, most of those issues, as someone that has done tax all his career, all his life, more than 25 years, most of those tax issues, most of those issues we had in the existing old laws, he had been able to, he and the other people members had been able to point them out, talk to them, written about them, and all of those things. So when the opportunity come to effect a reform, a change in them, it was much easier because you already, the two you have been working with, where it has spoiled, right? Things that are not working there. So it was a little bit easier, but of course it took, they took feedback and all those things. That, of course, I know, another thing you have to realize is that, there can never be perfect law. That's why over time, you amend laws, but I believe that it's a good law. It targets, in some way, it actually tends to target the people in the upper class of the economic ladder, and as much as possible trying to give some sort of concessions to people in the lower end of the economic spectrum. So to that extent, I think it's a good law. I'm going to pay more tax as a person myself, and but I don't mind. But because I see the bigger picture of what they're trying to do. So I think it's a good law, but unfortunately, policy is always policy, right? People will always, opposition and their sympathizers will always, say something to gain, to make the government unpopular, to gain some, to use propaganda. The current government, where they were also opposition, they also did it against, against the, the old government. So it is part of it, part of politics, and I'm sure that everyone will find another of the day. But generally, in short, based on my experience in the tax space, some of the issues, some of the things I personally saw as needing reform, needing fixes, based on, as someone that worked in tax between 2009 to 2023, 40 years, as some of those things I saw were taken care of by the new amendments, by the new law. So, I believe they are a good law. But is it perfect? No. But I think it's, something that we should start with. So I don't have any problem with it.
So as an entrepreneur, what are some steps you've taken to, because you just said that you're going to pay, more taxes, but you don't mind. So if I'm an entrepreneur who minds, right? What steps can I take that I don't pay more tax?
So the tax we're talking about is personal. The tax, when I say paying more tax, I mean me as a person.
Okay.
So me as a person, because I would say I belong in the high income, and at least, it says so. I'm going to pay more tax as a personal income, but as my job as a company, I might not be, because there's a provision in that law. At the moment you are paying 30% company income tax, if you make a profit and your profit subject to tax, you're going to pay 30% income tax. But there's a provision in that law that at a point in the future, there might be, it gives you room to reduce that tax rate from 30% to 25%. So what that means that my company will pay lower tax. Another company, will pay lower tax at that end too. Okay. So that is indoor. So if you are personally, you as a person, if you want to pay, you don't want to pay much tax, you probably will not. High income earners, you have to do what you are meant to do, which is pay more tax. So, but there are some legitimate ways. For example, contributions to to mortgage. Rather than finance a house, personally, if your own cash, you take a mortgage. The interest on that mortgage is something that is allowed as a relief for you to be deducted from the in the process of completing your taxes. Your contributions to some other schemes, like voluntary contributions to pension and all of those things. So if you take advantage of all of those things, your tax liability will reduce. Will reduce even if you are high income earners. I don't do all of that, but people that want to do it, I can't do it. As a business, if you are playing in some sectors, if you don't want to pay more tax, for example, agriculture has some exemption. Subject to some conditions, and you may try to invest in agriculture because the government wants to boost the agriculture sector. That's why they're getting some. Then a company that just started business, so that just start operations too. In the first 4 years of operations, I think 4 or 5 years, operations, if they are making a loss, because they know that in those first years of the company might be some challenges that may make it to not make profits. Okay, you have some exemption that also applicable to you. If you're also investing in areas like renewables and all those things, there's some special preferences in the laws. Okay, all those, so those are kind of things. But if you are doing the traditional business, you make a lot of money, then definitely you have to pay the taxes.
You have to pay taxes. Well, thank you for that. Because just like you said, there is a lot of I guess misinformation in the news.
Yeah,
saying, oh, if the government will, because one popular one I heard was the government will just return to your bank accounts and take the money that you're supposed to pay for taxes. So I'm happy that we're able to clear it up. So
you spoke about having a great career and why you built a business. You already know that. So now, running multiple business, like you own more than 3 businesses.
Yeah.
So what do you know what's your time and how to allocate it?
Yeah, I mean, great question. So I have a team. For each of these business, I have a business, I have a business lead. And I get reports every day. I mean, every hour. So they know. I mean, we hold meetings every week. All the companies, on Mondays, some on Fridays, we hold meetings. So I get general updates on, the leadership of the businesses, and we brainstorm, we do all of that. And they know that. I mean, I give them that. So I mean, I think the most important thing is that the personnel you are working with, make sure that they are guys that that have some free hand, that are self-starters. So if you have self-starting people around you, your business, it means it's a much better point. So I try to place self-starters in those business so that I'm not so involved in every little detail. I know someone that can take a decision when a problem wants to arise. He knows what to try. When it's coming to me, it's not just coming to tell you the problem. It's telling you these are the options to solve it, exact solution. I'm now, okay, let's do this. I probably now with my own maybe high level inside to say, what is this you are talking about? I mean, are you sure? I think I saw one problem out of the VWC, same energy, this thing, don't do that, don't do that. Okay. So, and that is my own experience over years to now maybe guide them if needed. So I think the most important thing is to have, decent people around you, people who are, who are integrity also very important. I mean, because people, who have some level of integrity, I mean, that might be difficult to come by. And people who are self-starters, that's the most important thing I look for people. Self-starters, people that will not just come to you and amplify a problem, but tell you, the options to solve the problem. Pick from the options, or you give them your own insight on how to move ahead. So, and that's how I've been able to manage them. So each of those businesses I have, people have a solid team, and I also, I'm also always active online. When people see me online, it's not just, I'm always, for example, when I was coming here, I was the real estate company. I went to their TikTok page. I saw something I didn't like. I just screenshot it and I sent it to the management group, and I told them, I mean, this thing, So the fact that I have tools I can work with are, things that I can easily communicate my feedback immediately. So that's the way I've been running the business. So I have around you people who are self-starters.
Okay, that's a very good input. So coming from a family of entrepreneurs, right? You've had that experience growing up, you've seen your parents' business, you've seen how they've been able to run it, how to make a successful business, or to an extent, because you're just a child then, you really implemented everything you've seen.
Yeah.
So what do you say is a business that made you struggle? Like being a business, like which of them did you struggle with the most? That's really stressed you, and why?
Yeah.